Welcome everyone to this Privacy Rules, Privacy Espresso. I would like today to introduce you to our expert from Brazil, that is Luiza Sato from ASBZ Advogados in Brazil, of course. Luiza is an expert in privacy matter and data matters, and I'm really pleased to have her with us today, in particular to discuss about a very recent and relevant news that is related to the fact that Brazil has recognized data privacy as a fundamental right. It is a very important news. And we will delve a bit more into this topic. So without further delay, Luiza, thanks a lot for being with us. And yes, let's start having a little overview on this topic, I would say. So what's the history behind this decision of data protection becoming a fundamental right? Was it already considered somehow a fundamental right? Please give us an overview.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Alessandro. I'm happy to be here again. So, all right, we had this discussion of data protection becoming a fundamental right since 2019. So a few years ago, but the right to privacy was already in our federal constitution, meaning that the right to a private life was since 1988, that's the year of our current constitution, was there all this time. But specifically as to data privacy or data protection, we didn't have that in our constitution. So we had this proposal of this constitutional amendment since 2019. But we also had in 2020 a judgment from our Supreme Court that considered data privacy a fundamental right. This was among the discussions of, I don't know, it was a long time ago since the pandemic started. It seems like ages ago. So this was kind of the beginning of the pandemics, and our government decided to ask for IBGE, which is a research institution from Brazil, to collect data from all the citizens of Brazil, from telephone operators, so they could, conduct researches and provide arguments to public policies regarding the COVID-19 in Brazil. So our Supreme Court decided that this was not proportional to the purposes that this whole research had, and it violated data protection principles. And data protection should be considered a fundamental right. So together with the public safety and public health. And so we kind of had that since 2020, but we only had now on February 10th, the data protection becoming a right and included in our constitution. So now we can say that we formally have this fundamental right in our federal constitution.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much, Luiza. And which are the practical implications of these, in particular in your country?
Good, great. So fundamental rights in Brazil, it means, or in the world, I think, we have a hierarchy of laws, right? So by becoming a fundamental right, whenever we have like a fight between a conflict between two rights, the higher one will possibly prevail. And in this case, for instance, in this case of the institution that we were discussing, public health, we can now have the same amount of power between those two very strong rights, which didn't happen before that. Because if we were talking about other fundamental rights, if data protection was not a fundamental right, data protection would lose in discussions like that. So now, because of this hierarchy of laws, we have data protection up there at the top. And I love to say that in Brazil we have this beautiful expression which is clausula petria. It kind of means stony clause, something like this. So it means that now we have this right written in stone. And for us to change the constitution now, it's impossible to remove this right because it's written in stone. So this is something that gives us great safeguard of our rights, especially to data subjects and everybody who's all the concerned parties. So we have now this great safeguard in our constitution. Another practical implication is the attraction of foreign investment. So this is really great for companies in Brazil us here at ASBZ, we have seen this happening. Companies that wanted to invest in Brazil but decided to invest elsewhere in Latin America because we didn't have strong data protection laws. But now we have this very strong data protection law, which is the LGPD, and we also have this right included in the Constitution as a fundamental right. So this will definitely attract new investments. And also in this international context, this gives us Brazilians another strong argument for us to be even part of the OECD, which is one of Brazil's dreams. And so this adds another little brick in this wall for us to become part of this organization.
Great. That's great, and in particular, hopefully, will be leading also to other countries doing the same. But it's clear that Brazil is doing things extremely seriously on privacy. In particular, in the last year, there has been a great development in your country. And I understand that this constitutional amendment also sets forth some exclusive jurisdiction of the union to regulate the matter, right? So, what does this mean practically?
Yeah, so this constitutional amendment also included the exclusive competence of the union to legislate on these matters. What does it mean? It means that in Brazil we have the three layers of powers, which is the union, and then the states, and then the cities, which are the municipalities. And when we were discussing the LGPD and the data protection regulations in Brazil, we had this entire mess here, like cities legislating on the matter, and then states wanting to, have their state laws on the matter. And this was a whole mess. And some of them didn't even, they were really in a conflict with the LGPD, so they made no sense. But now, with this amendment to the Constitution, we only have the federal power legislating on this matter. So this will guarantee to us an uniformized treatment on the subject in Brazil. So this was also an amazing inclusion to our Constitution.
That's great. In particular, if I think it also in comparison to what is happening in the US, we were speaking with one of our colleagues from the US in PrivacyRules, Yugo Nagashima, exactly about the issue in the US of not having a federal law yet on privacy, and probably this is one of the ways in which we can resolve this problem. And last question that is related to this, and in particular to one of the main topics of the moment, that is data transfer. Speaking about this, how do you think this may affect data transfer?
This will affect a lot, this subject in particular, which I agree, it's one of the biggest topics for discussion in our sector, right? So basically, two things here to discuss. One is the adequacy decision. So of course, Brazil wants to be among the list of countries that are adequate, so that we could receive data from the European Union, right? Is in an easier manner without having to put in place all the other mechanisms. And I believe that by becoming a fundamental right, data protection, right, becoming a fundamental right in Brazil, this will add great grounds for the European board to consider, the Commission to consider Brazil as an adequate country. And another thing, with terms to judgment, the SCCs, which are the main mechanism for the international data transfer, they could be actually not an absolute document, right, to allow for the international data transfer if the country receiving the data cannot actually respect or observe all the principles or the clauses inside the SCCs. And now, having data protection as a fundamental right, I believe that this adds onto the list of reasons why we believe that Brazil has a legal system that allows for the SCCs to be actually respected, and we could actually count on this mechanism to receive data, personal data from the European Union.
This is probably wonderful news for any privacy expert out of Brazil. Just think about the implication of having possibly Brazil as adequate for Europeans. That would simplify a lot. their job probably, so that would be truly appreciated. So thanks a lot, Luiza, for being with us today, and thanks a lot for all the work you're doing within PrivacyRules, and looking forward to meeting you again very, very soon. And of course, thanks to our audience for being with us in this Privacy Espresso. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.